You know how they're saying the best discoveries were made by accident? Well, an accident I had, which leads me to this fabric manipulation experiment to texture real leather. You know it's pretty unique when nobody over on the gram can guess what it is I'm using. I'm calling this one liquid smocking. Can I have some mysterious music? Thank you. Long time ago, a few weeks, I went to a friend bike through Berlin wearing this black leather jacket. We were a few drinks in, thinking, oh, my phone is still in my jacket. Feeling in the pockets, and I'm like, I'm in the wrong jacket. And I'm looking at the jacket. Am I going crazy? What's happening? My real leather jacket suddenly looks like this. What in the actual alien meteorite attack happened to my jacket? I will not keep you longer in anticipation. Cut the fluff, please. Even with my design friends, we could not figure for the life of us out what makes real leather react like this. Fast forward, 3 days later, I realized something had been leaking all over my clothes. Magic. Also called a dehumidifier. In this bag there are these sort of pearls that get the humid out of the air. And this water is being catched down here. That's what was leaking all over my clothing. I wanted to actually buy a black jacket again, but I couldn't find one for a good price. So I assume it's gonna work best on a leather that's a little bit more supple. This one's quite a thin sort of leather. But you may wonder, is this even safe? Great question. Let's double check. Better late than never. Well, the short answer is yeah, sure. The long answer, if you're watching this video, I was probably able to resist the urge to eat large amounts of it. You don't want to dry out our beautiful eyeballs. That's not good for your eyes and also not really for your manicure. It's gonna be a super easy fabric manipulation technique, I hope. Tried out a few different techniques on my black jacket just to know a little bit how we're gonna proceed. Dots, circles, squares, it all looks a little different, as you can see here, but eventually I decided to go for a simple grid shape, which I'm quite glad I did, but you'll see why in a bit. So my idea was to concentrate the application around the waist to create a little bit of a tailored effect and then just brush it on, making a sort of grid on the leather. I feel like you can draw it on first with chalk if you want, and using a ruler to get it slightly more geometrical, but I could not be too bothered. And be aware that the calcium chloride is not gonna sink evenly into the leather anyways, so it's almost impossible to work really precisely with this fabric manipulation technique. And I was under the impression that it would make sense to avoid the button placket and pocket, thinking this way it would look more calm and close better. Turns out, I think it had the exact opposite effect, creating a sort of giant ruffle in the middle front. You'll see what I mean. I'm gonna let the front marinate a little whilst I go for a run.
3 hours later. 3 hours later. 3 hours later.
I was getting a little nervous. This was all taking a lot longer. Well, that's not completely true, Whitney. We do see something, at least when we look up close. But I ended up using multiple layers, which definitely started to enhance the effect. I rubbed the water that's left on there multiple times in the leather with my tracing wheel or brush. Which leads me to why I think the grid was kind of convenient. Because if I had to do individual circles or dots, it would take lots longer to go over it over and over again. But I think we can conclude that different qualities of leather will react differently to the calcium chloride, with more extensively treated leather like genuine leather being less permeable and thus taking a lot longer for the liquid to absorb. But as we all know, there's nothing your favorite fashion designer does not have a solution for. Admittedly, it felt almost illegal, but I was using the torture device, aka pattern tracing wheel, to roll over my grid lines and create tiny punctures in the leather, because I wanted to go step by step, and I'm going a little bit further up the shoulder now, but I can't wait hours in between every time for it to absorb. And if that all sounded like a bad idea, you might have a point. Who the hell came up with that? Well, I guess it works. Yay! Interesting and avant-garde. In fact, it was so interesting and avant-garde that I threw it in a corner for a couple of days because I was like, maybe I did a little too much. It was going on and on and on and on and on, but there's no way back. It does actually look a bit like smocking, in my opinion. Two hot tips takeaways in between. The calcium chloride is very likely to continue to work a lot longer than you think, as in it might work even a couple of days. If you can, you might want to do some tests a few days before on the exact same leather that you're gonna use use for your project. I know, for upcycling difficult, but maybe you can do it even on the facing inside. Just dissolve the calcium chloride pills in water, not only saving you a few days for it to catch water out of the air, but this way you can also make various different strengths of the solution and see if you can achieve different results this way. But yeah, for me it's just a little too late. Do just a little bit more. I actually really would want to do the whole jacket, but I'll stick to the back side as I want to avoid the sleeves, because I'm certain that this technique will cause way too much shrinking, and I don't like short sleeves on my coat. To do it somewhat the same on the back now, so I tried it with a dropper as well. But I feel like with a brush you have the ability, because it's so liquidy, to even apply it a little bit more even.
Many tic-tacs later.
Sometimes you gotta get really creative.
One little last surprise, everything shrunk except the lining. So I would just detach it from the hem with your seam ripper, shorten it and sew it back by hand. But only when you're sure that the jacket is not gonna shrink even more. So I'm doing this very fashionable cropping. Also, because I don't really know if I gotta keep the jacket like it is, or do I need to upcycle it further, chop a piece off the bottom, elongate the sleeves. You be the judge in the comments. I feel like it's a little bit of an acquired taste. Reminds me of those sort of molded leather masks that are a little bit freaky, but getting kind of into it. Let me know, what do you think? Give it a like if you like the video. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for my Patreon supporting my channel. Check out my other fabric manipulation videos in the linked fabric manipulation playlist. Leave a comment for the algorithm and see you in the next one. More intelligent people amongst you might have seen this is a Okay, I'm not so intelligent myself. The scientific name is calcium chloride. Just Well, y'all. Oh my god! Well, it worked. I would say it worked very well, very well.